I can literally go and just automate the volume of this pad down whenever there's a kick drum or a snare drum happening here in the drums. This is very tedious, but very precise, and I know some people do it like that, and there's nothing wrong with it.
There's something really, really important to keep in mind when you're using FL Studio here. So automation ducking the way I see it done. So you have your kick channel or your drums, and they go to the master channel directly. And then you have everything else, or the elements you want to sidechain, go to the sidechain channel first, and then to the master. And then on the sidechain channel, we load Fruity Balance, and then we select this right here, create an automation clip. We can copy this value, copy this under every kick. There we go. It's very tedious, but it works. I mean, this sounds fine. It works. This setup exists in my template, which you can find on my Patreon, and you can see me using this method in all the tracks, and I see countless people doing it this way right now. But please do not use this as your main sidechain. There is a very technical reason why, and it is one of my many grievances with FL Studio. Automation clips are not latency compensated. Now, what does that mean? Let's say you have a big project. My projects tend to get very large with lots of effects, tracks, and so on. In such a large project, every plugin introduces a bit of latency. Let's say we have quite a few effects on this track, and FL Studio needs a bit of time to calculate what this sounds like. So there's a bit of latency. It's a bit delayed. Now, the plugin can tell FL Studio by how much this is delayed, and then FL Studio can adjust everything else back accordingly. So now they're in sync again. But notice how this doesn't happen with automation clips. And now the automation is out of sync. And it sounds very bad and very obnoxious. And this is essentially what happens with real projects. It's what happens under the hood. You can hear that, and this issue persists even when you export it. So that means in pretty much any larger project with noticeable latency, automation clips will always be out of sync. That makes them pretty much useless for any precise actions. That is really bad. Now here is what you do instead. You use a plugin to sidechain because they are properly compensated. I personally use Kickstart 2 for this. I put it on my sidechain channel, then I sidechain the kick into this. Then I can open up the plugin settings and select the kick as the sidechain input. And now when I press audio, this triggers whenever my kick hits. Now I can adjust the curve here, pretty nice. You can even use the filter, so you can only duck the low frequencies, for example, which is sometimes a lot more natural in less heavy music. I also use FabFilter Pro C. You do the same thing, route the kick into the sidechain channel, and then here you can select the kick. Then you can open up the sidechain tab, select external, and now this is the standard sidechaining compressor technique that he also shows in this video. This method sounds typically nicer in acoustic music, for example, or with real instruments. You can do the same thing with Pro MB, where you can duck the low end, for example. But all of those plugins cost money. So here are some free options. You can use the Fruity Limiter for the compression technique. You can go to the compression tab, select the kick here, the threshold and ratio. You can see how the kick ducks the instruments. I also found the Flux Mini 2 plugin. Now this is essentially the same thing Virtual Riot does with Shaperbox. We can create a new pattern and on here load a MIDI out track, set any port, press any note, and we can place this under each kick. And now in this plugin right here, we can open up the settings, and in the MIDI import port, we can set the port we set in the MIDI out. And now we can here go one shot. And this essentially sidechains for us. We can now set the smoothing right here from 5 milliseconds down to 0, for example, to make it very snappy, which can also click, but yeah. Yeah, maybe 0 isn't the game here, but you get the idea. Of course, all the other methods he showed in this video are perfectly valid. I just want to talk about this one for FL Studio users.